Real estate investing is bullshit. So you better grab a shovel, Sean.
Is that how we're starting this one?
Yeah.
I like that.
Episode 5, we're getting real, all right? You know what I'm sick of?
What's that?
I'm sick of all the fucking bullshit.
Ooh.
We might have to bleep that. But you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of it. I feel like there's so much of it in real estate, and I feel like people are sick of it, right?
I agree.
It's like the rah-rah, kumbaya, go ahead, invest in real estate. Nothing bad's ever going to happen.
Ooh.
You know, you're going to just be rich and sign up for my course.
Yes, there's a lot of that out there, unfortunately.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit. And
right.
I believe that the reason why there's a lot of that out there is because people tend to be gullible.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and also, they're just not listening to the right information. They're not listening to the Philadelphia Wealth Project.
Yeah, this is a no bullshit zone.
This is a no bullshit zone.
Although we deal with plenty of it, and we've had to deal with our own. So in this episode, I think what I really, I'm watching some of these podcasts, and you get these guests on there, and they tell their story, which they've kind of sugar-coated, in my opinion, right? And they don't talk about. And you say, well, why is not everybody a millionaire, right? Like, why is not everybody just a millionaire, right? And the reason is it's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Right? It's like you have to transform yourself personally, professionally, spiritually, mentally to do this.
You do.
And it's hard.
Yeah, and a lot of people stray away from things that are difficult, right?
Yeah. But, I was talking, it's like, you know what else is hard?
Being poor, being broke.
Being broke, or being just, like, let's say you're doing okay, but you work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, for 40 years, you retire and die.
That's tough.
That sounds like shit.
That sounds like hell on earth.
Right? And I think that's like what a lot of us are actually sold as the dream. Like, hey, maybe when you're 72, if you save half your paycheck and you put it in our account, you can retire maybe 6 months to a year before you die. And you'll be free.
I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but
right.
I think the point you're getting at is that it's bullshit, right?
And I'm also trying to be funny, so it's okay for you to laugh.
I know.
I try.
We're not laughing at people dying.
Right.
I think what we're laughing at is the fact that we are, as a culture, sold.
Yeah.
Right? We're sold this dream that if we do certain things, if we take our money, you're right, invest half of your money for 40 years and then put it in my fund, and then all of a sudden when you retire.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know what I was thinking about? As hard as real estate can be, and being a real estate agent is extremely competitive. Like most real estate agents are doing like 3 or 4 deals a year. Like they're just not really making a living, right? And it's super competitive. And I said to my wife last night, I said, if I will kill to not have to go back to working a corporate job. Like whatever I have to do.
Not really. He's not really going to kill someone.
Maybe if they're like, what if they're like, they want to die? Like they're just.
Nah. We're not talking assisted suicide on this podcast, Rob.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm just saying.
Figuratively.
Figuratively, yes.
I know exactly
I'm not going to murder anyone. I don't think. Maybe. But I'm just saying that, like, I do not want to go back. Like, I will do whatever it takes to succeed in this business because of the level of freedom. And also, I think the level of, like, progress and development and just the people I'm around. I love everything about it.
Yes. Yeah. So I've had a very interesting time so far in real estate.
Yeah.
In a great way. I have thought since I've gotten into real estate, it has not felt like work. Before I got in real estate, I was working in the kitchens for 10 years.
Yeah.
That was work. You go, you show up in the morning, whatever time, you leave whatever time, you get your work done, and then you can pretty much leave it there.
Right.
And then go home and separate.
That's the advantage, right?
Yeah. But within real estate, I don't feel like it's actually work because I just love doing it.
Right.
I don't love every aspect of it, which is why I've morphed into where I'm at in real estate. Out of sales for the most part, managing broker. But the level of personal development that I've experienced being in real estate, I would have never gotten there
Right.
if I was still stuck in the kitchen.
Yeah, and I think it's just like once you're set free, it's like you can't go back in. Like you just like, going back to the kitchen, I'm sure right now would just seem like an impossibility.
It seems like horrible. Like I love
prison.
cooking. Yes, it seems like a prison.
It's
yeah,
like,
like
go
I
back
can't
to prison.
imagine to go back to that.
I
No,
know.
couldn't.
Man, I was getting up at 6 a.m. I would drive for an hour and 15 minutes up to my office, and then I was flying around all the time. I was in traffic all the time, fighting, cursing at people.
Ugh.
Like, I mean, bosses were screwing me out of commissions. I had a pretty good job, a pretty good life, but like, most people are not going to complain about above 6-figure salary, right?
Right.
But like, it's still like handcuffs. Like you have to do what you're told if you want the paycheck,
Right.
And it's not different. Here's the thing, right? When you're in real estate, right? You still have a lot of bosses, right?
Oh yeah.
You still got a lot of people telling you what
Clients.
to do. Sean's always telling me what to do.
I'm always telling them what to do.
I don't listen. But I'm just saying, like, there's always someone like, there's always people you're serving. Right. There's people that we're always trying to help. It's not about us. And I mean, that's what this podcast is about, is helping other people and serving other people. But, I think the thing that I really want to address today is like in real estate, there's so much bullshit on two fronts, right? There's like there's bullshit you got to deal with being a real estate investor, being a realtor. There's bullshit that people put out there that like, I'm so super successful, everything's great, I never have any problems, right? This is like the social media generation.
Yeah. Everyone on social media is sharing their wins and not sharing the losses.
Yeah.
It's very natural.
And fake Instagram followers, fake this, fake that.
Bullshit.
It's bullshit. I don't like it. It stinks and I hate it. So I'm just saying, like, there's that, and then there's like our own personal bullshit, right?
Yep.
That I feel like I have been having to just remove from myself to succeed, because I feel like when you kid yourself or you trick yourself into believing something that's not true, you are going to fall flat on your face. In real estate.
Yes, I agree 100%. I don't know who it was, but someone along my journey in life explained to me, or I read it somewhere or heard it somewhere, that every time that you say, or every time that I say, I can't,
right,
I'm programming my mind saying, I can't, whatever it is. I can't lift those weights. I can't run that marathon. I can't do this. I can't do that. So somewhere along the way, I've been very cognizant of what I say. Like, I try my best not to say to myself, I can't anymore, because I don't want to program myself. You know, it's not I can, it's how can you?
Right.
Who can I use to figure this out? What situation can I put myself in where I can figure out how I can do it?
And you know what? There's such a fine line, I think, for people with like all this positivity stuff, right? Like, oh, just believe in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a reality about mindset and what you're talking about, which you've probably done so many things now as becoming a real estate investor that have like changed who you are. Would that 100%. Be true?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was the person where, getting into real estate, it was like negative net worth, right? Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. And now having multiple properties and increasing my net worth almost to $1 million, it's like, holy crap. Like that's amazing.
It is amazing.
And it does something to your mindset, because if you're stuck in the lack mindset, and you're just worried about how am I going to pay the next bill? Where am I going to get money to fix my car? How am I going to afford groceries? Whatever it is, like if you're stuck in that lack mindset, you are going to be setting yourself up to fail.
And I think that's like the first thing, let's just say like the first point is real estate is going to make you take that shovel and start shoveling your own house, basically. And you've got a clean house of yourself,
right,
to get rid of your own shit, basically. Because like I run into a lot of real estate investors. I help a lot of real estate investors get started. And they're going to have excuses.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even
All of them.
realize our excuses.
Right.
They're just beliefs. Oh, well, I can't buy in this market. This market's too high. This is too hard. There's no deals. There's no this. There's no that, right? And it's just like, I'm sitting there like, oh.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Here we
like,
go.
I'm just like, okay. But, my job is to coach people through that, too.
Right.
Because, like,
Exactly.
it's not just the implementation part of helping people become a real estate investor. It's not just getting over the numbers.
Let's go out. Yeah, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the deal, analyze them. Yeah, it's way more than that.
It's way more than that. You're like a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I give out a lot of pills like a psychiatrist.
Not real pills.
Yeah. Well, if you just medicate them enough, they can calm down and buy real estate. So, but I'm saying like that's one thing, right? Like a lot of people come with a lot of bullshit. Now, when you are a real estate investor, you also got to deal with a lot of bullshit of other people's bullshit.
Yep.
I heard you can deal with some stuff.
Sometimes things happen and I say to myself, is this real life? I get this call on Monday, and I kid you not. I get this call, and the guy said, your neighbor stole my dog.
Ah, okay.
And I was so taken aback, right? I was actually in 1244 Westchester Pike walking around, and I stopped.
Oh,
I was like,
nuts.
my neighbor stole your dog? He's like, yeah, your neighbor stole my dog. I was like, look, are you talking about in Downingtown where I live? And he's like, no, in the Poconos. And I was like, oh, is this Jay? I'm just going to say his name is Jay.
Okay.
Because he's a current guest we have at our Airbnb.
Lovely.
He's like, yeah. He's like, my dog got out. He started chasing the deer. He's been doing it the whole time we've been up here. The one time he ran to the neighbor and the neighbor found him and brought him back. And he did it again. And now the dog is gone.
Okay.
And he's like, I think the neighbor stole it. And I was like, whoa. I was like, dude, take a step back. Let's think logically. I don't think the neighbor's stealing a dog.
Right.
So I like go through this whole process. I posted on Facebook, hey, missing dog. They find the dog.
Was it in the neighbor's house?
Another neighbor found the dog and took it to the shelter because they were worried.
They didn't steal it?
They didn't steal
Something as valuable as that?
Yes. Yeah, and they gave the dog back. This was on Monday. The dog got out again on Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
Someone else found it. A bunch of people, because I put my number on the private Facebook group. I said, call me if you see the dog. I left the post up. I got like 4 calls yesterday saying, hey, we saw the dog. Hey, I have the dog. Again. This was yesterday. And now today, he's saying that he can't get, he took an Uber up there from this area to the Poconos.
Ooh.
First off. So a guy had no car. And he said, my rideshare service is screwed up and someone's like trying to scam me. And he's there. He's literally at the house still with the cleaners there cleaning around him. And I'm like, do not let this guy stay here and you leave. So it's like, this is happening in real time. It's 1:37 Wednesday afternoon. And it's still like, that's the bullshit you deal with.
He sounds like a potential squatter.
We'll see.
I hope not.
But that's the bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what they don't tell you when you're going through these courses of, oh, yeah, buy an Airbnb, make $2,000 a month, right? Deal with the guy that's trying to squat in the property and keeps losing his dog. It's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. You're dealing with the general public in some of these situations. I mean, like right now, right after this, I have to drive to Aston to my one rental to look at the roof just because like I'm just improving it. I mean, it's not like, someone's scamming me or anything, but then like, she called me the other day, like there's a leak at the oil tank. I have to get that fixed. Like every heating person in the world is backed up for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like, okay. So whatever, I just call around and get it done. But it's like a little bit of headaches and things. I got to put together a lease for the property. They're jacking my insurance up on Florida $1,000 because of Ian hitting,
Knew that would happen.
Yeah. And, it's like, okay, so I got to deal with these things, right? And people say, well, I don't want to own a rental property. I
don't want to deal with the clogged toilets and pipes and stuff. And I'm like, yeah.
You get phone calls. I was like, you know how much I got paid for that phone call?
Right?
Because when you look at the overall picture, that's the thing, right? People, they'll start looking at like, okay, this BS that you got to deal with, whatever. You got to deal with this guy and his dog. You got to deal with the, right? But like still overall, the amount of time you're spending versus the amount of money this investment is going to make you in the long term.
Yeah. And like I had a great point pop up into my head. You have to think about what bullshit do you want to deal with?
Right.
Do you want to deal with your own property that's creating wealth for you?
Right.
Where the tenants or the guests are paying the mortgage, you're getting appreciation,
Right.
you're getting the tax benefits, right?
Yeah.
Or do you want to deal with the bullshit of your boss telling you what to do every day, going into the job that you're miserable at, right?
Right.
What bullshit do you want to deal with?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And when I deal with Florida, I mean, it's interesting too. It's like you get nice stuff too. Like I had two or three guests reach out to me. Oh, hey, I stayed with you before. How did everything go in Florida during the hurricane?
Oh, wow.
And just
That's
asking
awesome.
how I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's really nice. Like people are like, when you have guests, like you can form nice relationships and,
Yeah, people get invested,
yeah,
you know, in your success, which is really nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think, when you're dealing with all these things, you're dealing like in the moment, it feels like the end of the world. But, I've just noticed different investors in our brokerage and like with Steve Seymour, for example, right? Like his life would totally overwhelm like almost anyone.
99% of people.
Yeah, they just like be crushed instantly.
Yes.
Like he gets like 120 text messages per second, and then like his emails like 10,000 emails in there, and like people are constantly wanting him.
Yeah, everybody wants his attention. Yeah,
right. And it's like and like kind of my wife and I are dealing with this too in our lives because our lives have become more than we can just do. Like there's more than like we can like handle as human beings with 24 hours in a day. And then you have to start cutting stuff out.
Yeah.
Say, I can't do this. I can't do that. Right. But
outsourcing.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think the thing is too, it's like you learn how to deal with it and then you learn how to just put up with it. And you're like maybe old Sean, who was a cook who would own this place.
I would have destroyed it. Like I would have ruined everything. I would have been like whatever. Fuck you. Deal with it, and then they trash it out, whatever, But yeah,
Right.
the old version of me
Couldn't
would have
have
not. Yes, I couldn't have handled it.
Right.
I
I think the old version of me too, it was like, when I got a flat tire, I'd be like, I got a flat tire. My life's terrible. How did this happen to me? Wait, right? Like it was like I was just so much more like weak. I was like,
you're a victim.
I was a victim. Oh my God, the victim thing. Don't get me worked up. But like, like the whole victim mentality thing in our culture, it is universal through time. Okay. Right. That's how people, operate. And we have it still. We just have it less.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I would agree with that.
There's still like stuff I'm weeding out of my garden, right? Like that's a victimhood mentality. Like trying in the best way I can to take full accountability for my life, right? But the point is, like, you start to get used to it. Like, okay, this happens. Okay, now what do I do? Oh, okay, I call a plumber.
Yeah.
All right, there's a clogged toilet. It's not like, oh, the toilet's clogged. Run around, freaking out, right? Like, it's like, right, you just like, okay, toilet's clogged again. What do I do? Oh, I call Lenny. And, Lenny comes over and he fixes it.
Yeah.
I pay $200 because other thing is I'm not broke. So like not every time everything happens, it's
not the end of the world.
Right. Yeah. I'm not right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So like that also is a big important part of financial freedom and financial peace is just like, okay, yes, we're making these investments at the right times with the right resources. And I think that's a huge point, right? Like they say, oh, you can just real estate invest with no money down. You don't need a penny to your name. And it's like, yeah, you could, but you don't want to do that.
Yeah, you're going to need some money along the way.
Yeah, you need money. I mean, you need money, basically. It's like you got to hustle to get that money up front and then invest it and like work towards this, right? It's not something that just happens overnight. Like me and you have been working on this for years, right? Like how long?
6.5 years.
6.5 for you. I would say 5 for me pretty easily. And it was just like that decision like one day where I was like, I need to own my own life and like need to change my own life. And I was blaming my my boss or
Yeah.
other
It's
people.
always somebody
my
else's fault,
ex,
right?
my this, my that, right? Like just blaming everyone else, like why I can't succeed or why I'm where I am, And my grandfather was so awesome. He was like the nicest guy. He was a very successful, wealthy guy. And, I remember one day I came to him. I was trying to go to business school.
Okay.
And, he's like, well, I need to understand your financial situation. And I was like, well, I have all these student loans with my ex-wife currently and this and that. And he just looked at me and he's like, you think you're going to run a company if you can't even run your own household?
Ooh.
And I was mad at him for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Because it was so true.
Yeah.
And so harsh.
The truth cuts, man.
Yeah. And I thought about that statement for years and I still think about it. And it's like, if I can't even take care of my own household or take care of myself or like,
how can you take care of others?
Right. How am I going to help other people cut through their shit to invest if I can't cut through my own? Right.
Yeah.
That's like the thing. So
that's good advice, man.
Yeah, it is. Right. You got to handle your house first.
Yeah. You definitely have to be in a good, solid position, I believe, financially. Maybe I'm not saying that you have to be well off, but you have to be making smart decisions. Yeah. Financially, you have to be making smart decisions personally too. If your head is all jumbled with all this different crap that you have going on, if you're partying on the weekends, you're doing this and that, like you're not going to be a successful real estate agent, right? You got to put yourself in the right position. You got to put yourself around the right people who can help you get to where you're looking to be.
You know what I love? People.
Me.
I love you. I love you
thanks.
so much. You're handsome. I like bald men. That's my thing.
Thank you.
So shout out to all ladies.
Shout out to all my bald men.
And the ladies who love them. But I like the thing in real estate. It's super easy to get fired as an agent. It's super easy because there's like 15 guys lined up behind you ready to take
go.
Your client.
Yep.
Right out of your jaws. Right there. So if you screw up, which I have on occasion,
same here,
you get immediate feedback.
Right.
And it's real. And people will be nice and courteous. Hey, I would like to fire you in the nicest way possible. And you're still sitting there like, I'm not going to get paid now.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah, when you lose $15,000 because of your screw up, you really start learning fast to... And I think the same thing applies to real estate investing.
I was about to say the same thing happens in real estate investing. The same thing happens. You can make $1,000 mistakes or $100,000 mistakes, right? Easily. But you learn so quickly because it's real money and it's your ass that's on the line, right? There's no there's no fallback. It's like, this is your money. Or if you're working with someone, another partner, it's their money. Like there's just no safety net, really, in my opinion.
One thing that really struck me as I started surrounding myself with real estate investors is a lot of brutal honesty was floating around the room. Like almost to the point you couldn't make jokes because they'd just be like, well, that joke's not funny, and here's why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because these people are just so direct, so honest. But when you're honest with others and you're honest with yourself, right? These are like, you can't like kid yourself and be totally honest with others.
No,
you
not
can't
at all.
Be totally honest with yourself and kid others. You kind of have to move in one direction or the other. So like as you cleanse yourself of all this BS, that you're going through in your life and that you need to clean out of your system,
right,
to become a mature person, to try to succeed in this business. Like you have no option. You just kind of like start becoming like seeing everything more and more clearly, and then you get more allergic to people's crap,
to the bullshit.
Nobody
wants to be allergic.
If you haven't noticed, this episode is sponsored by bullshit. Get yourself a can a day at your local store.
So what is some of the bullshit then that newer investors face when they're thinking about getting started in real estate investing? There's all these different things that are coming at them. There's all these different messages.
Right.
different tactics for investing, different people to listen to. So how does a want-to-be real estate investor cut through the bullshit so they can actually do the thing?
That's a good question. I think it comes down to getting real teachers. So you have to be really careful who you surround yourself with, and that's why I also get mad about all the bullshit guru crap, right? But if you can surround yourself with a bunch of real motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying, who keep it real, they'll just start weeding your garden for you if you're there, and it's a little uncomfortable, right? But like, I don't know, when a client gets with me, I'm going to start like gauging their level of tolerance for my honesty. Does that make sense? Like, I'm going to be like, all right, how much criticism can they take from me, and how fast can I pull them through this process, right? And how much can I question their beliefs before they're going to shut down?
Right.
Right. So when like I said, like when I'm like, if someone becomes my client, I think again, that's part of like what I'm going to help them through, is just like, okay, like victim mentality. We need to drop that. Okay. Don't look at me like I'm going to do this for you. Right. I think that's when I get really irritated. But yeah, I think like it's about who you surround yourself with professionally, like who you're working with. I think it's about who you're like if you come to our real estate meetup, we got the one on the 12th on 1031 exchanges coming up. Timothy's. Yeah, 1031 exchanges are good to know about. So like getting around that group, and that's again the Philadelphia Wealth Project, right? It's a collaborative. I was thinking about it. That's the word.
It's a collaborative.
It's a collaborative.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a collab. Yeah. You want to be on my mixtape, dog?
Yep. I like that.
Yeah. It's like a collaborative, right? It's like people coming together, and you know what will happen is like people will be like, yeah, I can't find a deal, and there's no deals to be had. And be like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I just bought a 12 unit. Like, yeah. Well, your reality is interfering with my like bullshit narrative.
My bullshit narrative
that I'm putting out there, and I don't like this. Right?
Yeah, I think personally that for a newer investor, if they're looking to get started, they really have to decide if investing in real estate is what they really want. It's more than just like, oh, I saw this thing on the internet or I read this book, but like if you really truly want to be in it, then you're able to overcome the bullshit things that will keep you from not doing it. And then again, you surround yourself with the right people. If you put yourself in the right position to be successful, then you're going to be successful.
Yeah, you're right. So the desire in your heart usually is going to come from a lot of pain that you're suffering. Okay. Like you're in that kitchen and you're sweating and you're, just working your ass off for no money.
Mine was my pain was deeper, way deeper than that.
Interesting. Tell me about
my pain was security, growing up and never having enough, growing up and never have owned a house, and didn't have, dad, I mentioned it before, didn't leave us anything when he died, like we didn't have nothing, but we had very little. Right. So my pain is a lack of security. Okay. And that's what drove me to get into real estate, to get into real estate investing, to become a real estate agent, so it's more so like if you can relate to your pain on a very deep and emotional level and say, I don't ever want this to happen for my kids. And if you really can take that in and then put that out there and say, I want to get started in real estate investing because I want to create a future for my kids that I never had when I was growing up. That's powerful, and everyone's different.
I think the pain for me came from, I'm like an overachiever, right? And it was like, I want to be successful. And I thought I was going to take over my dad's business, and that didn't work out.
Right.
Now, that for me was a very painful situation, right? It was a very
It was your identity.
yeah, it
You know?
really came in. It really was something I had sort of thought about since I was like 6 years old, and then to have that not happen. But then just this feeling of like, man, I'm just looking to everyone else around me to create my life. And just like, I got to knock that off. You know, I got to take control. I got to be a man. I have to, I can't look to my daddy to save me.
Right.
I can't look to my grandfather to save me, or my wife, or my kids, or some boss, right? Like, I need to step up.
Yeah.
And the pain was real financially as well. Suffered losing everything.
Right.
And, growing up, we had what we needed. I wouldn't say we lived lavishly, though, but we had what we needed for sure. I mean, but still, I was just always like very driven and wanted to succeed. And then I think that the 10 years or so of setbacks and suffering and ending up with nothing was so frustrating for how hard I had worked that I went, all right, like, I need to think, and I need to be more strategic, and I need to fix myself. I am to blame for what happened.
Yeah, I can agree.
And that is really a hard pill to swallow for many, many people, including myself.
Extreme ownership.
Yes, but and I think extreme ownership is even harder when you've been screwing up, right? Because you gotta own that bag of shit you're carrying around, and then you gotta say, okay. But the good news is, if you are the problem, you're also the solution. And I'm not saying that like I've done everything on my own. Like, I mean, I pray all the time. I'm religious, guy. Like, I've surrounded myself with people that have pulled me up. I've just really like leaned into creating the right support around me,
right,
and not trying to do it all on my own strength, right? And again, that's what this collaborative is about, is trying to.
It all comes
help.
back to support, right?
It does.
I think we'll say it until we die, but it's really just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And that's what the Philadelphia Wealth Project is: surrounding ourselves with the right people that want to grow wealth in real estate. We're back. Sorry, just had to deal with a little bit more bullshit.
Yeah.
Can't even make this up.
We'll see if the guy leaves.
Yes, I hope he leaves.
On the next episode, I guess we'll fill people in on the situation, whether you had to go up there with a one of those bats that has the nails around it. Have you seen those?
Like a Negan bat?
Those are pretty intimidating.
But anyway, where were we?
Oh, we're talking about that. We're gonna on December 10th, and this is very preliminary right now. We're thinking about and we're getting set up to kick off the Philadelphia Wealth Project, like as an event.
I'm doing a drum roll, and I don't know if they can hear it.
There's probably going to be an amazing speaker named Sean Connors there,
and Rob Lawrence,
and
a couple other people.
A couple other people too. Yeah, it's probably going to be like an afternoon event where we're going to basically go through net worth. We're going to go talk about strategy. We're going to talk about motivation and goal setting, which is getting over your own bullshit.
I love it.
Right? And we're going to make a plan, a 5-year plan.
Making a plan.
That's what you're going to talk about.
I love it.
That's why you're going to talk about that. Yeah, because you're going to get to help people make a plan. Because you know what? This is going to take you right through those steps of, okay, understanding. Now, again, like you said, you got to have the desire in your heart to want this, because it's not going to be easy. But if you do it, it's going to pay.
Yes.
And it's going to keep paying in bigger ways than I think we even know right now.
You're talking like a lifetime of success. Like, if you put in the work now for the next 5 years, you can set yourself up for the rest of your life. Can you imagine that?
I can. I think. I don't know. I mean, my life has been so crazy, so amazing. I mean, just like, what I think is cool too? It's like when you have to, like, I have to wake up at 5:45 in the morning. I have to go work out. I have to do my gratefulness practice. I have to do my Bible study just so I can deal with my day.
Right.
But those things are making me a better husband. They're making me a better father. They're making me happier. Person. Right. But I have to do those things to like be who I need to be, right? And I am coming into who I'm supposed to be, right? And I know that like where I'm going is going to be really interesting. But it's just like cleaning out the things about
it's the
myself.
Airplane analogy. I go back to that all the time. Airplane.
Tell me about this.
You're on the airplane. You're 30,000 feet.
This sounds kind of high.
It is high. It's 30,000 feet high. Something happens to the engine. It goes out. The plane starts to go down.
Yeah.
What do they say to do? When the oxygen mask comes down, what do they say?
Oh, you got to put that thing on you.
You got to take care of you first so you can take care of everyone else around you.
Yeah.
So you can be the support that you need to be to all the people around you. You have to take care of yourself first. It is not selfish to take care of yourself.
No, especially if you're gonna, have a family and and take care of them and teach them who to be as a person.
Exactly.
They're gonna do what you do rather than what you say, right? Like I know that about kids.
Kids model you. They model your behaviors. They model your reactions. They model everything.
One of my
good and the bad.
One of my big takeaways from Grant Cardone, I'll throw out, and I don't always agree with him on everything, and he can be annoying to me sometimes. But one of my big takeaways was he's like, why does everybody say it's great to be poor? It's not good to be poor. You can't help anybody, right? You can't give to charity. You can't help people that need that around you. You can't support your family. Like, there's no glory in it. It's hard. It's just as hard as being successful.
It is.
Right?
And there's no inherent benefit to it.
And Sean, I know we're getting along, but I just want to say one last thing is I was thinking about investing, right? And I think every single thing we do is an investment. Every second in our day is invested in something.
That is true.
You know what I mean? Like we're investing right now in this podcast and this time, to get it out. But like, it's like me and you could talk here alone, or we're recording it and we can get it out to hundreds or thousands of people.
Right.
Right. Like there's a strategy around how you invest your time and energy. Right. So with real estate investing, it's like, okay, I got to take the time to learn. I've got to take the time to work on myself. I've got to take the time to make money so that I'm in the position. I have to straighten out my own personal finances.
Right.
I have to set goals. I have to be grateful. I have to find my spirituality. I have to find, do all these things.
It's a lot of work, right?
Right. But the time's passing.
Yeah.
Right. The money's, the sand dial is going.
Right.
The time is flowing. Right. And some people are investing it in, Murder, She Wrote on, the old person channel or something, right? Like that's where they're putting their time and they're putting their energy into whatever, gambling or they're drinking too much or.
We're always investing in something, right? We're always investing our time. We're always investing our minds. We're always investing ourselves into something. And it really comes down to what do you want to invest yourself in?
Right.
Do you want to be successful? Or do you want to be that person that just sits on the couch all day and does nothing? Right.
It's like the guy who's like drinking every day. He's investing in liver failure, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like he's like that's what he's working hard at it. So it's like it's just like the thing I always think about is like a billionaire and me. What's the difference? Pretty much it has to, especially the self-made ones. How did they invest their time and energy? And how much time and energy did they have? Right. And it's like. It can really multiply over time like that, that angle of departure, right? And they've invested a lot of time and energy in the right things and the right strategies with the right thinking. And maybe there's some fortune, blessing, luck along the way, of course. But just like, billionaires may be an extreme example, but it's like they're not physically stronger than me. They're probably not that much smarter than me. They're definitely not as good looking as I am.
That's true. The last part is so true.
So it's like, it's like we're all just human beings, right? And then we all have 24 hours in a day. We all have about a certain amount of calories we're going to burn and consume in a day. And that's our energy, right, that we're putting out. And it's just like, where do you invest it?
Right. I love it. So keep your calendars open. December 10th? That's the day? Is that what we're thinking?
I think that's going to be the day.
I love it. All right. Well,
thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions and want to reach out to us, make sure to put all the contact information below.
Yeah.
Look forward to the next podcast.
And check out the meetup on the 12th. And also stay tuned next episode to see what Sean had to do to this guy to get him out of his house.
God, I hope he leaves. Just please leave. Leave.
Yeah, you're going to have to call the sheriff.
All right, guys.
All right, see you.
Talk to you soon.